we're able to stay calmer, if we have techniques like our breath to tap into to help us think more clearly, and that'll help you to be thinking clearly, maybe creatively if you need to figure out, problem solve whatever you're in. It will also help those around you if you're that calm presence. So I think I want to add a third character though, and I don't know what image it would be. Maybe y'all can help me. Something that Sam and I were talking about actually is the person who's really good at connecting with their neighbors, with their community, building community. I think that too is one of the key pieces of being prepared for whatever, and making your life rich. So it's the good and the bad. It's what we all, I think, should strive for: being prepared, being present, and being connected.
My husband says the 7 P's: prior, proper, planning prevents piss poor performance.
I'll have to remember that one. So. There's the 6 P's of preparedness. I thought you were going to say, which is like the papers, the people, the pets. Anyway, I like that one. I might have to write that down.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to not talk about all the things this summer that are the not so good stuff, but I do want to focus on wildfire smoke and extreme heat, why we really should be paying attention and knowing how to protect ourselves from those potential harms to our health. I would love to have some question and answer discussion time. I'm not going to have time to do the DIY air filter, but I have the parts, and maybe I'll take it over to my table later, and we can do that together if you're interested. You probably know, but just in case you don't, wildfire smoke is a bunch of tiny particles referred to as PM 2.5 because it's particulate matter that is 2.5 micrometers or smaller, so really tiny, along with gases and toxins and even like bacteria and other funky things that can kind of glom on to that PM 2.5. And the thing is, it goes into our body, as we know, goes into our lungs, as we know. The thing that research is finding more and more to be the case, which is the for sure, is that the stuff is so tiny that when it gets into our lungs, it can pass into our bloodstream, thereby going through our whole body. So it's not just your lungs that are at risk to being harmed from wildfire smoke, it's also all your organs, even your brain, because it can bypass your lungs and go whoop, right into your noggin, which obviously is not a good thing when you think about all the different things that can be in that smoke. Just to give you another sense of how small the PM 2.5, the wildfire smoke, is kind of used interchangeably in research. You can see that on the far right, that rope thing is a human hair, and then it's a grain of sand, a piece of salt, on down to wildfire smoke is this tiny, tiny thing here. You could line up 30 of those PM 2.5s across a human hair, so really small.
That's a good slide.
Isn't that? I didn't make it, but I appreciate having it. All right, so this is a multiple choice question. What health impacts do you think are linked to wildfire smoke? I'm gonna guess that you would guess asthma, check. Dementia, hair loss. Brain fog, depression, heart disease, preterm births. All the above, none of the above. Well, you're almost right. I don't know about the hair loss, actually. Probably no, yes, but I don't think that research has been done. But all the rest, unfortunately. So it's not just our organs, it's also our mental health that's being impacted. And not just because it's a bummer to be in smoky air, but it literally can cause for some people, in some cases, mental health disease or illness. Okay, so we want to lower our risk. It's all about lowering our exposure to wildfire smoke. And what we can do is a lot. Remember your ABCs. If you're aware of your AQI, the Air Quality Index, that's a great start. That's information that you can use to then change your behavior, but sticking with a B. And then C for a cleaner air room. So when it's really smoky out, you want to know how to make a cleaner air room in where you are. Okay, so starting with awareness, do you all know, I think you're all, I'm guessing, pretty savvy about AQI. Do you have a favorite place where you'd like to go? And do you understand, like, purple air? Yep. Anyone else have a favorite source for getting your AQI? Is this mic still, is this good I'm using this? Yeah. Okay, so just to run you through though, I have another slide that will talk about purple air. But first, I don't know if you can see this, but green is great or good. It's an AQI of 0 to 50, so the lower the number, the better. It's a measure of how much pollution is in our air. Yellow is moderate. I like to call it mediocre because even though it's not terrible, as research is finding, it's not just that it's going all over, systemically in our body, but even low amounts of wildfire smoke can actually have health impacts potentially for some people. So you want to be paying attention even at that yellow level. Orange is USG. Anyone know what USG stands for? No. USG stands for unhealthy for sensitive groups. Now, when you really break down, I got this from OSHA. They have a really nice list of who they consider to be a sensitive group, and it's a lot of people. 18 and under, over 65. People who are pregnant, people who work outdoors, and folks who have chronic illness. And that's not just asthma or COPD, but also like diabetes and heart disease. So it's quite a lot of people that need to be realizing that they are in a sensitive group. Next is red levels, unhealthy for everyone. It's AQI of 151 to 200. And you got the purple, very unhealthy, and then magenta is like, whoa, hazardous, not good for anybody.
Stop breathing.
Get somewhere else if you can. So here are some of the ways we can get our air quality index, that number, that color, code, whatever you want to refer to, the number, the color. There are the kind of official government ones, the three on the left, the EPA airnow.gov, the DEQ, the Department of Environmental Quality's website or phone app, LRAPA. Anyone know what LRAPA is?
Yeah, that's
Marine Regional Air Protection.
Yeah, we have to call before we
Agents.
burn.
That's what you call it.
Never
Yeah,
was a second
Know
A.
about burn.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are in Oregon. Lane County is the only county that has our own air authority or air agency. All the other counties use the DEQ. So those are three great sources of information, very precise, accurate AQI numbers that you'll get because they have very monitored, they're constantly checking their equipment. It's very scientific. And then there's a whole swath of commercial air sensors that are coming online, and Purple Air is probably the most known. They have, you can bring up the real-time map. It's a great source of information. You might not have the precise AQI. It might not match exactly what the government ones are saying, but it's really useful information. It can help you track how the air is, and there's so many of them that you can really kind of often get very hyper-local information. And another resource I want to point out to you is called the Fire and Smoke Map off the airnow.gov. I brought up here's a screenshot. It's a purple air sensor in Vida, so just not too far from here. I think that was the closest one I saw here. And if you click on a sensor, so you get the map of the whole country, so then you just zoom in to where you want to know about. And then on an individual monitor, you can click, and it will bring up the information like this green box here. It will tell you what kind of sensor, so purple air sensor in Vida. It'll show you on the dial what the air quality is. Yay, green. This was yesterday, but I think it's still the same today. The trends, and you can see yesterday and today, or 2 days ago, 2 days worth of information there. Also gives fire status. But the thing I want to point out and really highlight is that middle circle, the trend. It has that green circle with a line through it. That, if you click on that, will tell you what it's telling you, which is, in this case, stable. The line is just neutral. If you saw an arrow pointing up, it means the trend is that the air quality is going up in number, getting worse, or down arrow, the opposite, air quality is getting better. And it'll also change color. So that's a quick way to really understand
So you go
30-minute averages.
You go to airnow.gov and then you click on the fire and smoke map.
Yeah, I actually would suggest just searching fire and smoke map.
Okay.
you can get it off the airnow.gov, but it's actually for some reason not super direct.
Okay.
Maybe you'll do better than I did, but I just had to end up searching for fire and smoke map. Okay, so now we're on to B, the behavior change, taking action to reduce our smoke exposure. How do we do that? Well, if you can, reduce your time outside and or how much exertion. So just little slow down if you can, and reduce how much time you're outside if you can. Or go somewhere else. If you don't have clean air where you are, you might want to go to the next town over, or go to the coast if you can, go to the library, a shopping center, community center. And if you do really, for whatever reason, you're outside, consider taking clean air breaks as much as you can. Let's make this weird. Wear a mask if you can. Drink water. That will literally help flush out some of the pollution coming in. And believe it or not, just like your mom hopefully told you to eat your fruits and veggies, that can help in the case of wildfire smoke in your body. It causes inflammation in your lungs. So inflammation is tamped down by antioxidants. So learn, if you don't know what foods are high in antioxidants, that'd be a good thing to learn. Okay, and I wanted just to highlight too about masks. It's not just any mask, you probably know this, but just make sure a cloth mask is not going to do any good in wildfire smoke. Those blue surgical ones, not going to do any good. You're really going to want to get an N95 and make sure it's tightly fitted. Hard to do for a small kid's face. There's videos you can check out though to learn how to do what you can to get the tightest fit as possible. This is a KN95, but same idea. Okay, and the C for cleaner air room. How do we do that? Well, you go inside, you close up the windows and doors, you turn on an air filter that hopefully you have. If you have an air conditioner, you want to set that to recirculate, or if you're driving in a car, set that to recirculate, have that little symbol there. And you want to do your best to protect the indoor air, because it's very easy to end up with worse air inside if you're not using an air purifier especially, but also if you're smoking or vaping or burning candles or incense, or if you're using a gas stove that's known to put air pollution in the inside where we are, frying food or dusting or mopping, or not mopping will be all right. Dusting or vacuuming will kick up whatever's including ash and whatever else is around into the air. So we don't want to do that if we can. A little bit more on a cleaner air room. Again, minimizing the opening and closing of doors. And then you can take a rolled up towel. It's not maybe the best, but it can help if you roll up a towel and put it at the base of a door or window and kind of stop any draft that might be there. Better yet would be to really tighten up your envelope with a weatherization program with caulk and tape and things like that you can do. There are some programs that offer financial assistance with that through utilities usually. If you have outside air vents, close those up. That includes that air conditioner. Use an air filter. I'll be talking more about that. And then if it's a hot and smoky day, you want to really make sure that you're not making yourself in a hot box. So if you don't have air conditioner, it's not an easy thing to, you have to kind of do your best and pay attention to the air quality. And if you find that there is a little improvement in the air quality outside, then you might want to use the opportunity to open the doors and windows and flush out the air and cool things down if it's cooler outside than inside. And don't forget your pets. They're very sensitive to the smoke as well. Okay, so I said more on air filters. I'm going to go through this one really pretty fast because Nao is going to be on deck or maybe it's Kai. I don't want to take up too much of my time, and I feel like I have more information than I have time for. So there's 3 options. Okay. Okay. Air filters, 3 options. You can if you have central air or forced air or HVAC system, you want to talk to the manufacturer or don't just do it without thinking about it. But if you can modify it and add filters to your HVAC system, that's a great way to clean your air. Or get a portable air cleaner. Those can be purchased at a lot of stores, a lot of different models. You might want to check that wireless or some kind of independent place that will tell you which ones are better than others. Or make yourself an air filter. There's a lot of DIY models, including very simple 1 filter, 1 fan with some duct tape. There's ratings to know about. And like I said, I'm not going to get all into this detail, but the MERV 13 or higher is what you want. Or if you have a HEPA filter, that's considered a MERV 17, so it's super good. That's usually what like medical offices have. Or the CATER is another rating system that's used. The clean air delivery rate, you want to have at least 3 air exchanges per hour when you're dealing with a smoky smoke event. The higher the number, the more air it filters. And there's a formula, which if you want to geek out with me, I'm happy to walk you through the formula. If you have a room in mind that you want to make a cleaner air room, we can guesstimate the dimensions and calculate what CATER number you'd want if you're looking at a filter that uses that rating. Again, you want to find filters that are geared for the PM 2.5. Some will say, pollen and dust. We get, the dander and all that stuff. But if it doesn't say smoke, it probably isn't going to be a good enough filter for smoke. You want to get mechanical filter only, because some of these things, including one I had on my HVAC system that was being I think I even paid extra for it until I knew better, was like an ionizer, or there's sometimes like an electrostatic. It's often commonly like an add-on. You don't want that actually, as I've learned, because that stuff can actually create other byproducts that aren't good for us to breathe. So try to just get a pure mechanical filter, no extra stuff. It's great if the filter says it's AHAM certified. That's an independent certification program. Okay, DIY model. I've got the stuff here, box fan, a MERV 13 or higher filter. Here, might as well show you the real thing.
Oh my gosh, how easy.
Yeah. Super easy. This is a furnace filter. You can order them online or go to whatever kind of store you like to buy the stuff from. 20 by 20 by 1. It'd be even better if it was 20 by 20 by 4, or more than 1 inch. This doesn't look like 1 inch to me, but anyway, that's what they call it. MERV 13 though is the key. You'll notice too on the side it's got that arrow pointing, in this case down. You want to make sure that arrow is pointing in the direction of the wind. So you can see here the MERV 13 filter and the fan. You put the filter on the back of the fan with the arrow pointing towards the fan. You seal it up with duct tape, and then the air coming out the front of the fan will be cleaner. You can make it even better by adding a cardboard shroud. So just taking the box and cutting a circle in the diameter of the fan blades, and that will kind of cut out the back eddy kind of corners and make the fan even more effective. So yeah, duct tape, filter on the back with the arrow pointing in the wind's direction, and then the cardboard cutout option. Other models, so you can see this. Here's an image of a unused and a used DIY box fan filter. Really dirty. When you see that gunk, when it starts to turn brown, it's time to change the filter out. Although honestly, the fan will work even a little bit more effectively as far as how much it filters out. It gets a tighter weave because of the pollution it's trapping. But at some point, you're going to overheat your fan. And on that note, you only want to use fans that were made after 2012 and after. So if you have a really old fan up in your attic that you're thinking you're going to make a filter from, you probably don't want to do that, because that could become a fire hazard. But 2012 and later should be fine. They've tested it, and they don't pose a fire risk. You approve that message? I'm looking at you. You're a firefighter, aren't you?
Yes. Forest Service is different.
Well, okay. Well, I bet you still know your fires. Maybe not your filters.
After
2012.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you want to make an even more effective filter, one that's able to filter even more air, you can take 2 furnace fans and make a triangular setup with a cardboard on the top and the bottom. Or even more fancy, or you could decorate it like this person did. I've seen some images of pretty fun DIY filters. This one's the Corsi Rosenthal filter, which uses 4 to 5 filters. You can do 4 around with a cardboard on the bottom with a fan on the top. Or if you want to prop up the whole thing on little legs, you can have a filter on the bottom too. So 5 filters with a fan. And that's been found to be very effective for cleaning out pretty large spaces. And that will cost you making one of these is in the range of like $40. One of these Rosenthal, the one of 4 or 5 fans, will be more like in the 150-ish range. Depends on what kind of deal you get on your filters. And you do need to clean, like with any filter, you're gonna have to switch out the filters from time to time, depending on how bad your air is. Okay, so we're just reminding you that it's Easy's ABC, having your air quality awareness, changing your behavior or behavior change, going inside, wearing masks if you're outside, and having a clean air room. And we already talked about some of how to do that. I have some copies, paper copies of this on my table inside. It's a table with a black tablecloth. This is a guide that we, Public Health and LRAPA, co-created recently, really geared towards daycare providers or folks who are in charge of little kids. But it's good information for anybody because it takes you through the AQI, the color, and then the numbers on the bottom, and what kind of activity would be appropriate at those different levels, on up to the orange and the red. Could even make an argument for the yellow to start turning on your air filters and having your inhaler nearby if you need that as part of your asthma plan. So that kind of breaks it all down. Next, I want to talk about heat. Extreme heat is something, unfortunately, that we're dealing with more and more in this area. I've lived in Oregon for 25 years, and it hasn't been until last, half dozen years or so where we've really been like, oh shoot, I need an air conditioner in my home, right? Like most homes in our state don't have air conditioning because it hasn't really been needed. But now, unfortunately, we are needing to be working on that. Heat pumps are a great option. They're able to heat your house and cool your house. A lot of people don't realize that because of the name, heat pump. And there's often rebates for those. So it is really a concern for our health when it gets hot out, and it unfortunately has been the demise of over 1,000 people a year in our country. But it's preventable. So what are symptoms? This is multiple choice. What are symptoms of heat-related illness? Muscle cramps, heads nod, thirst, excessive sweating. What about dry, hot skin and no sweating? Nods. Cool, moist skin and even goosebumps? That would be weird. A throbbing headache? Nausea or vomiting? Feeling faint or dizzy? Altered mental state? Feeling confused or angry or having slurred speech? Maybe some of you have experienced this before. What about a rapid weak pulse? Or a rapid, strong pulse? Which one? Or either? All the above? Oops. I gave it away. I thought I had a none of the above, but that would be silly. It is all of the above. Absolutely every single one of those. But some are more of concern than others. So let me go to the next slide and we'll talk about that. Okay, so this is a graphic from the Oregon Health Authority. Heat exhaustion in the yellow on the left. And this is heat exhaustion can turn into heat stroke. Heat stroke is like call 911, you're in a medical emergency. Heat exhaustion, if you catch it early enough, you can help yourself or a person recover. So really recognizing the signs is important. So heat exhaustion, feeling faint or dizzy, having excessive sweating, a rapid weak pulse, nausea or vomiting, a cool, paley, clammy skin. I remember having this as a kid. And it's a very weird feeling to know that you've been really hot and sweaty, and then all of a sudden you look and your arm got goosebumps. It's not a good feeling. Muscle cramps are often a first sign of heat exhaustion. It's your electrolyte balance is off, so getting yourself an electrolyte drink is a really good idea to kind of start counteracting what's happening in your body. Getting in a cool space, obviously, or if you're recognizing the signs in somebody else, helping them get to a cool spot. Put some cool damp cloths on them. Cooling them down, drinking some fluids. Now, if you're seeing signs of heat stroke, like a throbbing headache, like confusion, maybe even losing consciousness, a rapid, strong pulse, which I think is really interesting. The rapid, weak for exhaustion, rapid strong for what's more dangerous in the case of heat stroke, nausea or vomiting again, a body temperature above 103, and red hot skin. So sweating, you can have a real issue on your hands and not see any signs of sweat. You might just be really hot, dry, nauseous, and if you're losing consciousness, definitely you don't want to be giving liquids to the person. The person's not going to be able to take care of themselves in this case, most likely. Their mental state might be altered enough, so they need intervention. They need to call the 911 to get medical help, and still need to get into a cool place, maybe loosen their clothes, put the wet cloths on, really just do all you can to cool their body down. And I realized I have these little boxes, which you probably can't read from there. This is from OHA for heat exhaustion, move to cooler locations, sip water, like wet cloths, everything I just said. Maybe lay them down, help their bodies really cool down and rest. If they vomited, seek medical attention. For heat stroke, first thing is calling 911 immediately, move the person to a cooler spot, reducing their body temperature, do not give liquids. I have handouts on this on the table too, inside if you want. So who's most at risk for heat illness? Older people, yeah. That 65 plus is what they always say. Also the young ones, babies, young kids are also more at risk from heat illness. People with chronic medical conditions, and also folks who may be on certain medications like antihistamines, diuretics. You really want to talk to your doctor to know if the medication you're on might increase your risk for heat illness. Medical conditions to be extra aware of if you have or a loved one has are things like heart or kidney disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancers, substance use. Alcohol can definitely skew your body's ability to handle heat. Mental illness, cystic fibrosis, Parkinson's. My dad had, and it messes with your ability to sweat, which is obviously a key way your body uses to cool down. Quadriplegic, or people with mobility or cognitive impairments are all extra at risk. Pregnant people, athletes, people doing outdoor stuff, people who work outdoors, people who live outdoors or don't have spaces where they can get cooler. So often lower income, socially isolated. When there was that heat dome, do you remember in 2021? Really hit Multnomah County really hard. They lost over 100 people. All around the state was over 100 people that perished in that heat wave, mostly concentrated in the Portland area. And the folks who mostly perished were middle-aged men living alone in apartments. So in this case, it kind of not the age group necessarily. I think, it's older, including some middle-aged people. So it did hit demographic. But you think about someone living alone, you don't always recognize the signs in yourself that you're in trouble. So that's why, again, being connected socially, like we talked about, is really important for a lot of reasons. Also, our pets can get in trouble with the heat. We know not to leave them in the car, but they can show signs of heavy panting, glazed eyes, excessive thirst, vomiting. If their tongue is a deep red or purple, that's a sign that maybe they're in trouble. Seizures, same thing like us. You want to get them to a cool place, cool them down, and you might need to get medical care. All right, true or false? We don't expect to see people having issues with heat until temperatures reach 90 degrees or above. Is that true or false? Is 90 degrees key number? What do you think?
I think it's false. It's probably lower.
Lower, you're right. 80 degrees for the heat index, which is, the heat index is what we actually feel due to the humidity and ambient air temperature. 80 degrees is when, like OSHA says, to start taking measures for your employees. Help them stay cooler. True or false? Is a 90-degree day in May, a 90-degree day in May is not the same as a 90-degree day in August as far as heat risk. What do you think? Is that true or false? May versus August. You think it's false? Anyone else? Not the same. It is true that it is not the same because in May, we're not used to the heat. August, your body is acclimated and gotten used to the heat, so it's less of a risk. Multiple choice. Which factors make someone more at risk for heat-related illness? We talked about this some already. So what do you think? Humidity, is that a factor? Acclimatization, there we go. where you're accustomed, you've gotten used to the heat? What about having 3 or more consecutive days with heat without the overnight cooling? What about your age? What about all of the above? Yeah, definitely E, all of the above. Okay, so just to kind of, another nice graphic from OHA, Oregon Health Authority. What you wear can make a difference for how cool or hot your body gets, of course. Getting yourself in a cool space is important when it's really hot out. Eating lighter meals as opposed to heavy, greasy meals can make a difference. Using sunscreen, really just taking things like cool showers and baths to cool yourself down. Staying hydrated is key. Staying out of hot cars, and learning more so you can just be more knowledgeable about how to protect yourself and your loved ones from heat illness. I wanted to point out this great tool, the Heat Risk Forecast Tool. I think it's still considered experimental by NOAA and the National Weather Service, but it's a great tool. Maybe some of you have used it already, but it gives a forecast for what they are expecting for the heat in the next 7 days, and you can zoom into the map. It's the U.S. map, so you can zoom into where we are, and it's color-coded. So great thing if you even want to make plans and you're going to going up to go camping. You want to know what the temperature is going to be like as far as the risk that factors in what time of year it is, the humidity, where you are in the country, because us here in Oregon are going to be at higher risk for heat than someone down in Arizona, or for example in Arizona where they're used to the heat. So it takes all those kind of elements into consideration for how they come up with their heat risk. And I don't know if any of you were here for Sarah's presentation a little while ago. She talked about lane alerts. If you're not on it yet, I would recommend going to the Lane County Emergency Management website and get signed up for your lane alerts so you can be notified by phone, text, or email, your preference, if there's an emergency going on that you should respond to. That is it. How are we doing on time? Maybe we have time for questions or discussion. 1:15. What time are we all supposed to start? Do you know? 1:30? 1? Okay. I better stop then. We don't have time. Thanks for coming. Very good to be here.